there's enough room for everybody. You know, there's only probably one room for a National Player of the Year, and, you know, it is through the eyes of the beholder. You know, Caitlin Clark, does she deserve it? Absolutely. Does Aaliyah Boston deserve it? Absolutely. Does Cameron Brink deserve it? Absolutely. Like, there are so many people who are deserving of it. So let's tell all the story. Let's not just be one-sided.
All right, Coach, congratulations are in order. You have 400 wins as South Carolina's head coach. You're going back to the Sweet 16. So I know you are very busy at the moment, so let's get right into it. I talk about this quote a lot on the show. It's a quote from Nick Saban, and he says, once you get to the top of the mountain, you become the mountain. Do you feel like South Carolina is now that mountain?
I don't. And I don't know if it's because I've been at the foot of the mountain a lot, trying to get to the top of the mountain, and now, you know, that we've had sustained success, I'm always in the mode of trying to get better, trying to do the unthinkable, trying to be that mountain. And we find ourselves here, and it just feels like you're still working. Like, you're still working, trying to build on top of what we've already built.
Mm-hmm. How close do you feel?
There are good days and there are bad days as far as how close. I think I'm too close to our team. Really, I am. I see it every day. I know what our deficiencies are. I know the areas where we need to improve. So it's like, but I know where we're actually excellent. I know where we're excellent, and I can see that. And but the balancing act of knowing where you're excellent and knowing where your deficiencies are keeps me in a good place where I don't allow myself to get too big-headed because of those deficiencies. So I always said it, you know, throughout this entire season, we're just still a work in progress. We're actually getting better than every single day, and I feel that.
Mm-hmm. So for you, what's heavier? The pressure of winning that first championship or the pressure to keep winning championships?
Probably the pressure to win the first one. Because for me, it was a lifelong dream. It was something that, growing up in the projects in North Philly, is one of two events that I saw women play. That was the national championship, and then I saw women play in the Olympics. And those were my two goals that I wanted to accomplish when I was just growing up in the sport. And I was able to get the gold medal, and then I didn't think I would ever be in a position to win a national championship because I didn't want to coach. So I was happy with the gold medal, and then coaching found me. And then that desire to want to win a national championship it grew bigger and bigger, you know, inside of me, to where, you know, I wanted it more than anything. And then I obviously changed coaching programs from Temple to South Carolina because I thought South Carolina would put us in a better position to win a national championship. And then, you know, it took 17 years as a coach to actually hoist that trophy.
I love that. I am keeping this question intentionally very broad. What do you want for Aaliyah Boston?
Oh, that's a great question. I want Aaliyah Boston's heart desires. Like, I want whatever her heart desires because of what she's meant, not to just our program, because, you know, that is written. That's written already. What's not written is what she means to this game. I know that, you know, once she leaves college women's basketball, I know for certain that we will never get a person that embodies what a student athlete, what a giver, what someone's so strong in faith. She realizes that where all these things that are happening for her, that she's truly favored by God. So not only what Aaliyah wants and what her heart desires, but what God wants for her. And I want him to put her at ease because she a high standard. She set a high standard for herself. So, and she puts the work into it. She's not one of those, people or athletes that say, I want to be a national player of the year, defensive national player of the year without the work. And that is really, really different from most young people nowadays. Like they wanted instant gratification. No, Aaliyah wants to work for it. She wants to see the fruit of her labor, and she wants to see it in the form of probably, more hardware, more national championships, more national player of the years, more national defensive player of the year, more Lisa Leslie awards. So she wants to see that. And I do want to see that for her. And I want her to have an incredible WNBA career.
I love that. And I think that Aaliyah Boston is so special, both on and off the court. And you have continued to make comments about her that are very important. One that I want to repeat and ask if you could explain what you meant by this. You said, what's good for the game is to call it like you see it. Don't create narratives. Don't create things that are advantageous to players that will get the most clicks. What did you mean by that statement?
What I meant by that is our game, women's basketball, we have a tendency to create a narrative, and we stick with that narrative no matter who it is. I mean, it was given to a lot of different players throughout their careers, but there's so much more. Like there's so much more to our game. There is Caitlin Clark, there is Aaliyah Boston, there is Cameron Brink. There is, Ole Miss just beat a number 1 seed last night. There are so many stories that are buried because we go with this narrative, and we don't only keep it contained in our game. We go to the men's game. Like I hear commentators talk about Caitlin Clark on different. Like I watch men's basketball. They're talking about her name. Do they know her? Maybe, maybe not. Is somebody telling them to speak on it? Maybe, maybe not. But I know from speaking to a lot of people that when these narratives are created, come hell or high water, they're sticking with them. I mean, we were a victim of, in 2020, being the number 1 team in the country for the last 9 weeks before COVID hit. And you wouldn't know. You would not know that we were the number 1 team because they kept with the narrative with Sabrina Ionescu, which is fine. Great player. There'll never be another Sabrina. But because of Sabrina, and I don't mean to like dog pound her name, you'll never know about the 2020. The number 1 team in the country when COVID hit. You'll never know about it unless we're bringing it up. And that's a shame because there was room for Sabrina. There was room for Ty Harris and Kiki Herbert-Harrigan, the leaders of our team that got a 2019 number 1 recruiting class in a position of, I think we would have won a national championship. We were playing so much, elevated, and we just got better and better and better. And maybe that story would have been told if we had an NCAA tournament. But when I talked to the decision makers, I asked them, and they said we were going to tell that story in the tournament. Well, the bottom fell out. So you don't get a chance to tell the story. Now, I will say, because of those conversations, we did get an hour piece called For the Culture that was exquisitely done. Like, it was awesome. But selfishly, it was great. But there were other stories that did not get told that's a lost season for everyone. And I just think that there's enough room for everybody. There's only probably one room for a national player of the year. And, it is through the eyes of the beholder. Caitlin Clark, does she deserve it? Absolutely. Does Aaliyah Boston deserve it? Absolutely. Does Cameron Brink deserve it? Absolutely. Like, there are so many people who are deserving of it. So let's tell all the story. Let's not just be one-sided.
Well, I think what you're saying is true, but I think it begs the question of, why do you feel like certain players or people are left out of narratives, and why are certain players and people brought into narratives?
I mean, it's obviously there are people who feel like. I mean, I don't want to get into the race thing because I'm not race baiting or anything like that. When Aaliyah looks different, she looks different. She's a big young woman, like she's a center, and usually centers aren't the players that are highlighted in that way. But I mean, she's bubbly. If you pour it into like Caitlin Clark, we all know is the one that people feel like is the National Player of the Year, and it's narratives that have been created for her, and she deserves it. Honestly, she deserves it. I don't want people thinking I'm, just trying to elevate my player. I'm not. I know what great players look like. I do. Yeah. She is that. Like Sabrina Ionescu was that. Okay, Asia Wilson
definitely
was that. Brianna Stewart was that. Diana Taurasi was that. Like there are so many, but we don't know who those other players are. We don't know because we are pushing one. Like we're pushing one, and then we're pushing Caitlin. But I do think we do as South Carolina, we do get some pub as an entire team. So I like having these conversations because they need to be had. And they really need to be had because it's not hate. Like it's like people think I hate on Caitlin. I don't. Like Caitlin is going to probably win the Dawn Staley Award for the third year in a row. Not because I'm favoring her. It's because she can flat out play. Quite simple. Like quite simple.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Sue Bird about this topic once, and she put it really eloquently, just saying, they trick women's athletes into thinking that everybody is fighting for the pond. Like there's a pond, there's a pool. She's like, but really there's a whole ocean. But when they make you think you only have this like tiny body of water, you're thinking that you're having to like put one player above the other, when really there should be room for all people to be highlighted and to have these narratives and to have these stories. So I think what you're saying is really important. There has to be ways that we're able to incorporate everyone's stories in ways that feel real and authentic to them. So I appreciate you giving your perspective on that.
And let me just add this.
Yeah.
Let me just add this. And Sue is completely right about that. I do feel like the narratives are created as such that we go to the other end of the spectrum. Like we start hating on that one, that chosen one. And we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. I know our fan bases love to go tit for tat, but it's not. There is room. Like we need to respect the whole spectrum of all the people that make our game great. Like there are so many people that make our game great. We have so much dissension in our game that we can't elevate. We can't elevate. We need to join our voices together to make sure that we're all getting our just due in this space. Because the more that we all get our just due, the more the decision makers are going to have to publicize what needs to be publicized, and that's our rich game.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. Shifting gears a little bit. When you think of your entire basketball career, I mean, as a player, as a coach, everything, what is the one loss that you remember the most? And what's the one win that you remember the most?
The one loss. I'm going to say this is the most recent one because people have been asking our senior class this question. Like, we only lost one game in their entire 4-year career at home.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was against NC State, and it was on national television. And I had never, we played uncharacteristically bad. Like, I did not know that team. Like, I didn't know it. Like, it was all, they got brand new. You know how people say, don't get brand new on me. They got brand new. And it stuck with me. And now that people are asking, that feeling still gets, even though they won the rest of the games. Like, I think we were 60-1. I think 60-1 in our building. So that's the one loss. That is the most current one. And then the win, I would say probably beating UConn for the first time here in our building in 2020. Because so many other monumental wins came after that. So it kind of opened the door for us being able to, just shake that off of them. I always describe it as this: UConn beating our heads in year after year after year after year. So that win here allowed us to win here and also to win last year in a national championship game.
Yeah. The South Carolina-UConn matchups are always super fascinating. How would you describe the relationship between both those schools and the relationship between you and Gino?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say we're rivals because you got to win. You got the percentage of them beating us is very high to our, low. I just think it's become a great anticipation game for all of basketball, not just college, not just women's basketball, but all of college basketball, because when it's put on television, the viewership is way up. And then as far as my relationship with Gino, I respect Gino. I do. I respect Gino. I coached under him in the 2016 Olympic Games. I watched him. I watched him a lot. He probably didn't know I was watching him, but I was watching and learning just to see how he operates. And then I just respect them. There's a I think a mutual respect for each other. We don't like losing, and we don't like losing to each other.
Yeah. All right. I love that. Okay. Well, final question for you. I know we have to wrap up, but my last question is a what if. What if you weren't a basketball coach? What would you be doing?
Wow, you're gonna take me there? I'm really highly competitive, and I probably think I could have my way in the casino. So I'll probably be a professional gambler.
Wow, I love that answer. What, blackjack?
Blackjack, roulette, you name it. I don't know craps, though. I know somebody has to teach me. Now, I know the hood craps. I just don't.
I was gonna say, I know that one. I don't know.
I don't know the crap table.
I love that answer. Oh, my goodness. Well, I know you are pressed for time. I deeply appreciate you doing this. I don't know if you remember this, but I interviewed you about a year ago, and one thing that you were talking about is that you said you had a debt to repay to basketball, and you just wanted basketball to be proud of you. I hope that you feel that. You are so close to repaying that debt, and I hope that you know that everybody within the basketball community does root for you. So I deeply appreciate you doing this, and good luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.